chickadees. Happy Wine and Crime Wednesday. Tell me where you're coming in from. Tell me what you are drinking. I already see KS Granny is with us. Hello. And I hope you all have taken a moment, if you are someplace like an Eastern time or Central time, that you've gone outside and looked at the sky. The moon is amazing tonight. So please, please, please go do real life stuff when we're done. It is gorgeous. It doesn't even look real. Let's see. Liz Proctor's divorce attorney. Iced coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but glad you've got something to keep you hydrated. And Kelly's drinking water, and she's got lots of thoughts. I have lots of thoughts. We have a lot to cover. So I hope you all can buckle up, because there is going to be a lot. We're going to go over 5 days of testimony. I'm going to hit highlights so we can get the full flavor of what has happened in court on this case this week. And Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. She's coming in all the way from West Hollywood and drinking a nice semi-sweet Riesling. That's what I'm told, that they're kind of sweet. And Ava's from Connecticut with her wine. And yes, I think that is what it's called, Kelly. Isn't it a big beaver moon? It's unbelievable. Got to put your rice jar outside? I don't know what that means, Kelly. I'm going to need an explanation. And Melissa, before I forget, I did get your message back. Thank you so very much. So, Lotsie's mom, I hope I said that right. You just got home from yoga. You're so inspirational with some nice activity, exercise. I'm jealous. And hidden metadata. Hello. And that's from Manifestation Mondays with Lady Zelda. I adore Lady Zelda. She's fantastic. I will be following her tomorrow night on her live stream because I am super anxious to hear the story from Amityville. So let's first off, thank you to the replay crew. I appreciate you taking time to hop on board and watch what we talk about, even when there are times that you can't make it during the live stream. Second thing on my agenda, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notify button, all the YouTube jazz, and send me a comment. I'm usually pretty good about answering them. So if you have something that you didn't get a chance to say in the chat, please comment to me. I know some people watch through the Twix and it's harder to comment and things like that. All righty. I'm going to give a quick summary about this case, and then we're going to go right into testimony. And I'm going to try to take you all from the very beginning, even past what has happened in court, to kind of close the loop on this entire case, up to this point anyway. Setting the scene for you. Initially, Abigail Zwerner was working as a first grade teacher at Rich Neck Elementary. There was a concern on January 6, 2023, that a 6-year-old first grader had a gun. Now, there is some information about whether the gun was on his person or whether it was in a backpack. We'll get into that with the testimony. Ultimately, what ended up happening is that 6-year-old child shot the first grade teacher, Abigail Zwerner. This case is a civil case, meaning we do not have a guilt or innocence or guilt or not guilty answer that we are going to achieve. What we need to be considering when we're listening to the testimony is whether there is a preponderance of evidence. So basically, is it more likely than not that this individual is responsible for what happened? The individual responsible or being accused in this particular civil suit of being responsible is the defendant, and her name is Dr. Ebony Parker. So I feel like that kind of set the stage of where we are. So you have some idea what's going on. And, one other tidbit. The criminal case, there is a criminal case against Dr. Ebony Parker that has not gone to trial yet. So that creates an interesting dynamic with how testimony is coming in. We'll touch on that as we get closer to discussing closing arguments that took place today. So, the first person I'm going to cover that was on the witness stand, I got to get my notes here, bear with me. I'm an old woman, cannot remember things. Okay, this was day one testimony. It is Dr. Nina Farish. She was the HR representative. And I'm just going to play. This was her reviewing when the first report of a gun was conveyed to Dr. Parker. So. And if you can't hear it, I actually made it a little faster because these people talk slow. We got a lot to cover. So if it's too fast, y'all let me know. I can slow it back down.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And if you can look onto page 2, line 19 of the transcript, can you just read that portion of the transcript silently? And does that refresh your recollection as to what Dr. Parker told you about what she knew or what she was informed of?
Yes.
And what was it that she knew?
She knew that students reported that a student had a weapon in his backpack.
And as part of your continued interview of Dr. Parker, did you learn who it was that informed her that a student had a gun in his backpack?
Yes.
And who was that?
Ms. Kovac.
And as part of your interview, did you gather from Dr. Parker what time Dr. Parker learned that information? And if I can help you, it's on page 4, line 13.
Yes.
And what time was that?
12:20.
And as part of the information that Dr. Parker received about a gun in a backpack, did Dr. Parker share with you whether there was a plan to address it?
We're waiting.
As I'm reading through and recalling, when you say plan, I'm not recalling a plan as much as the conversation of what happened.
And that's perfectly okay.
Okay.
And so is it fair for me to say, at least based upon the reports from Dr. Parker in that initial interview, she did not convey that she had formulated a plan to address it?
Correct.
And did she inform you during that interview whether there was a discussion with her and somebody else about searching the backpack? If it helps, page 3.
So it was Miss Kovac who searched the backpack.
And did Dr. Parker convey to you whether she was part of a conversation with Ms. Kovac where there was a discussion about searching the backpack?
Yes.
And that request came to Dr. Parker, correct? Or was it informed to Dr. Parker, whatever words that you think are most consistent with what Dr. Parker shared with you?
So it's my understanding that Miss Kovac checked the backpack on her own.
Aha. So we have our first little tidbit here of kind of where this is going to head, so to speak. Oh, rude pause. I'm so sorry, ma'am. So initially, and this HR person is the individual that spoke with people after the incident. So that's what she's recalling, and that's why she's reviewing notes. Clearly doesn't have good recollection otherwise. So I'm going to head on to the next piece of her testimony. And this is where she starts to explain other individuals were reporting things.
Just clean up for a second. There was a conversation between Ms. Kovac and Dr. Parker that Dr. Parker conveyed to you, correct?
Correct.
And in that conversation, was there a question that was posed to Dr. Parker about pockets?
That is Abigail Zwerner right there. I just want to make sure everyone knew that's who that was. So,
Yes.
Now, after the conversation with Ms. Kovac, did Dr. Parker share with you whether she learned from any other staff members of concerns of a weapon on campus?
oh boy.
If it may help refresh your recollection, page 6, line 14.
Yes.
And who was that staff member based upon Dr. Parker's statement?
Mr. Rawls.
And did Dr. Parker convey to you what Mr. Rawls may have said to her?
Yes.
And having read the transcript of your interview, has that refreshed your memory?
Yes.
And what was asked of her? And I can ask a more tailored question to help here. Did Mr. Rawls ask at any point in time about checking a person based upon Dr. Parker's statement?
Yes.
And did Dr. Parker agree to having JT's person checked based on her statements to you?
No.
And based upon your interview of Dr. Parker, at what time did that conversation with Mr. Rawls approximately conclude based upon Dr. Parker's statement to you? Page 7, line 1.
1:40.
Sorry, I was muted. Bumped my microphone. Okay. So what we just learned there, first report 12:20. Then Mr. Rawls comes and has a conversation. They departed that conversation at 1:40. So an hour and 20 minutes has already gone by, and still nothing has been done as far as the child. And the child in this incident is referred to as JT, just to give you some reference. There is another child that may come up in some of the testimony that they refer to as R. But the child that shot the teacher is JT. So, now that we have some initial testimony here, she did go on to testify that even in light of all of this information, nothing was done. There wasn't a school resource officer that anyone got in contact with, nothing. And Kelly's asking, was this just a passing conversation? No. There, you'll see as we get through more testimony here, it was more than that. It just wasn't necessarily taken very seriously. So I'm going to fast forward. Hopefully I can find the correct spot and everyone will be happy, including myself. And this next part is a review of the handbook and what some of the requirements, some of the procedures and policies.
Yes.
All right, so if we can zoom in here and we talk about the school threat assessment response protocol. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. And there's a section here at the bottom that talks about procedures. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And here it talks about, the first section, it talks about any student upon receiving information that a person is threatening to commit an act of violence shall. And the first thing is assume the threat is serious.
Correct.
And on page 13, it goes through responsibilities of students in the circumstance of a threat. True? Are we
Yes.
And then here, when we get to this section, which is the third bullet point down, it talks about parents and guardians and their responsibilities. True?
Correct.
And then a little bit further down, we start talking about school staff members. Is that true?
Yes.
And in that context, we're talking about the teachers of the school of Rich Neck Elementary, as best as you understand.
Yes.
And again, it's assume the threat is serious, right?
Yes.
Immediately report the threat, right?
Yes.
Be available and cooperative to provide statements, right?
Yes.
And then the protocol changes and moves to the school administrator based on this document, correct?
Correct.
And then that responsibility is shifted and it says any school administrator, correct?
Correct.
And in this context, principals are administrators, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Parker was an administrator.
Yes.
And it says again, assume the threat is credible until and unless an analysis suggests differently. True?
Correct.
So I just have to jump reading again, why that too, but patience is waiting.
All right, if you can, I'll sustain that and allow you to rephrase your question in a non-meeting manner, please.
Does the policy talk about whether or not a school administrator should assume threats are credible or not credible?
Yes, it does.
And what does it say about that? You can read it.
Any school administrator, upon receiving information that a person is threatened to commit an act of violence, shall assume threat is credible until and unless analysis suggests differently.
And the next portion of this policy, does it talk about what, if anything, a school administrator, in this case, Dr. Parker, is supposed to do as it relates to the student making the threat?
Yes, it does.
And what does it say about that?
Cause the student making the threat, if known and on campus, to be immediately removed from the classroom and segregated into a secured area pending further investigation.
And is there a conversation with...
By the way, the woman nodding her head up and down, that is Dr. Ebony Parker. And I was a little shocked while watching this that she was doing the nodding for this type of testimony, because I'm like, this is not good for you.
in the policy or discussion about what should happen with other student or staff who may have received information?
Yes.
And what's the school administrator supposed to do in that context?
Segregate any student or staff member who received the threat pending further investigation.
And then is there discussion about what, if any, requirements there are for the school administrator as it relates to the staff member who is a source of information for the threat?
Yes.
And what does it say about that?
Require the school staff member, if this is the source of the information, to provide immediate written statements regarding the information received.
And is there discussion within the policy about contacting 911 or a school resource officer?
Yes.
What does it say the school administrator is supposed to do in that context?
Request police assistance either from the assigned school resource officer or by calling 911 for an emergency or the nearest SRO for a non-emergency to report a threat.
So, so far, it doesn't look like Dr. Parker's been following the policy. We're going to, that was to me the most important information. And yes, Kelly, and y'all don't even realize this. I have it 1.5 times speed. So even at 1.5 times speed, she's slow, regular, steady breathing. You're absolutely correct. And so now we're going to go to the testimony of the guidance counselor. Let me get this queued up for us. And this man is just lovely. I wanted to give him a hug. I desperately wanted to console him. This next part of the testimony is going to show or explain how he had learned of the threat.
That means in your life at Rich Neck.
Probably late afternoon. Rich Neck was always called a B or C school. I can't remember exactly how they determined it, but it was a later school, so normally time they didn't dismiss until around about late 3:45, almost 4 o'clock. So I believe on that date, it was around, probably it was after 12, so I'd say between the hours of 12:45 to like 1:15. Around that time is when I was informed about some information about JT.
And who informed you of information about JT?
Originally, it was kind of like indirect. I spoke to Miss West, who was the teacher, first grade teacher across the hall from Mrs. Zwerner. So she had brought to my attention there was a student from her classroom that was transferred over to her classroom that was very upset about a situation that he was information was passed on to him that really was upsetting him, and she wanted me to speak to him, that particular student.
I'm going to unpack that a little bit just to make sure we're tracking. And my understanding is that you used to call Miss Werner Mrs. E, is that
Yeah,
right?
yes.
And it's totally okay to call her Miss E in the courtroom as well. So you had a conversation with Miss West in which she communicated that there was a boy that was in her classroom. That
He was currently in Miss West's classroom, but he was in Miss Z's classroom as a student. Yeah.
Got it. So again, I just want to make sure everyone's tracking.
Right.
This is a boy that's not JT,
No.
correct? Who was assigned to Mrs. E's classroom on a normal day-to-day basis.
Correct.
And on this day, January 6th, he was physically in Miss West's classroom.
Correct.
And that
So, to kind of clear things up a little, what he's talking about is the student R was very shook and went to another teacher, Mrs. or Ms. West, and explained to that teacher what he learned from the playground from JT. And that's where this information is now coming from. Hey, Jay Cornish. So happy to have you. Glad you could join us and you're chatting on in there and everything. So the next portion here is, I'm going to scoot ahead just a touch. Which is not easy to do, let me just tell you. Okay.
And so this is a conversation amongst you three. And then did you then take that conversation and go talk to Dr. Parker?
Yeah, I asked because they said that they had already, I was informed they had already checked his backpack. The backpack was in possession of administration at that time. So I said, well, even if they checked his backpack and that it was in there, had they checked his person? And they said nobody had checked his person at that time. So my request was to go to speak to administration about checking his person.
And was that your understanding of how things went at Rich Neck Elementary?
To an extent, in my experiences.
And so you go to administration. Who do you go to specifically in administration?
Principal or assistant principal, whoever's in, like my boss in charge.
And on that day, January 6th, who did you go speak with?
I spoke to Dr. Parker.
And when you went to speak with Dr. Parker, did you ask about searching the person?
Well, we discussed about the backpack, and then I did ask, would it be okay if I checked this person? Yes.
And what did Dr. Parker say back to you?
She basically said, because he was on a certain plan, that they had already checked the backpack, nothing was in there. So she said, well, his mother will be coming to get him soon, so we can hold off and wait, and maybe when the mom comes and pick him up, we can check his person at that time.
And did you interpret that conversation as giving you permission to go search JT?
No, I took it as in she wanted me to hold off, and I didn't want to step over any boundaries, so I wasn't going to check him without permission. So because we didn't have any security or anything at that time.
And so, do you recall approximately what time that conversation ended between you and Dr. Parker?
I don't recall the time.
Do you recall at some point in time, just so I'm tracking in terms of timeline, we just talked about information received, which was your conversation with Dr. Parker.
Correct.
And other than what we've just addressed in terms of information received, the statement she made to you about waiting for mom, was there any other information that she conveyed to you at that time?
Not that I recall, no.
What did you Mr. Rawls do as a result of that conversation?
I just went back. I left out of the office, and I did go back to Mrs. Z's classroom. And I walked into the classroom, and I do remember Mrs. Z was in the back of her classroom at like what they call the moon table. And as the students were working, and I expressed to her, I said, well, I spoke to Mr. Dr. Parker. She said she didn't want me to check his person at the time. And I told her if she would need any more assistance, just to let me know. And that was pretty much it. And after that, I left and went back to my office.
How soon after that conversation with Miss Z did you receive any sort of information about shooting?
I didn't receive anything until they came over the announcements with the lockdown.
And tell us about what you heard then.
Well, when the lockdown originally went, it just sounded like it might have been a drill in any school lockdown. You know, you're supposed to stay in place, lock your doors and things of that nature. So I just proceeded to do so, cut my lights off, turn my door down, because my office is far on the other end of the building where the classroom is at. But then maybe momentarily, maybe a few seconds after that, another frantic lockdown was mentioned over the loudspeaker, and I knew something was not right.
And when you said you knew something was not right, what did you do after you heard the frantic call? I know, Mr. Rawls. It's okay.
This poor man.
I got on the walkie-talkie and asked if anybody needed assistance, and no one answered. So procedure is not to leave my area, but I left my area to go around the corner to see what was going on. As I proceeded to go around, passing the cafeteria area, down the main hall, and there's another main hall area where it goes heads down to the front office. There were janitors in the hallway, and I could see speckles of blood on the floor. And they were cleaning it up, and I said, what are you guys doing? It was a lockdown. I ain't supposed to be out there. And one of the janitors mentioned to me, they said, they got him. And I'm like, they got who? And they were like, the student in the classroom out here. So I proceeded past the janitors into Mrs. Z's classroom because the only door was open. And as I stepped in, Miss Amy had JT over in the corner, and she had him like a hold, not like a restraint, like just hold, like holding by his arms. And I said, what's going on? And she said, they shot her. I said, he did what? And she said, yeah. And I said, where's the weapon? Where's the gun? And she had pointed across the hall. So I walked through the classroom on the far end, and the weapon was on the floor. My initial reaction was because another janitor was still inside the classroom at the time as well, and I didn't know would he try to break away from the reading specialist Amy.
Can I ask you a quick follow-up?
Yes.
Was the police on scene yet?
No.
And so you saw the weapon on the floor in the classroom before the police arrived?
Yes.
And then from what you could tell in your observation, did the gun stay in that location until the police arrived?
Yes, because like I was saying, I was going to move it because I wasn't sure was he going to try to get at it again. But I wasn't going to touch it without a glove or something, so I asked the janitor or so to get me a glove or something. And before that even occurred, that's when the officers did proceed into the classroom.
Does your heart break for this man? Because mine does. I was in tears watching his testimony. Ay, 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 that's a lot to take in. And he was trying to do the right thing by asking, can we check the student? Okay, great. A backpack's been checked, but can we check the physical person? Because there was talk that the gun was put in JT's pocket before he went out to recess. And then there was, and I think we may get into that, Amy Kovac is the next witness. I'm going to get her queued up. And I can tell you right now, Miss Amy, she ain't somebody I'm going to fuss with. She is, when you think of a strict disciplinarian type of teacher, you're going to think of Miss Amy Kovac. And so this next section, you're going to see some video from the playground that shows both Amy Kovac and Abigail Zwerner out there. So we're going to watch just a few minutes of this.
All right. I just need to admonish. I know everyone knows what we've talked about before, and it was a mistake. But obviously, we're using initials for anyone under the age of 18. I know it was a mistake, and just want to admonish everyone again. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Are we ready to proceed? All right. Great. All right. Everything's up and running. And were we picking up at Exhibit 64A, or are you moving on?
Move on to an alternative exhibit, Judge.
All right. Very well. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Please rise to the jury. Fixed charge please.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Where we left off, we were still on the playground.
Yes.
January 6, 2023. You had spoken to Ms. Warner. She was now on the playground. You were in communication with her through text message. And at some stage, you went out onto the playground to speak to her.
Correct.
Ms. Kovac, I'm going to show you what's been marked by identification as Exhibit 64F from the defense. You can see it on your display.
I'm going to slow this back down because if we don't, it's going to be insanity to try to follow. So there we go.
64F. Ron,
64F admitted and published.
Now, I'll tell you, I don't, there's been no identification, but I'm kind of putting pieces together, and I have every suspicion these two students here are likely R and JT. No one said anything. I didn't see it. I'm just looking at the playground and knowing some other facts about the case. I believe that's who these two students are.
So if you could pause now, Brian. The two folks you see there on the background, that's you, Ms. Warner,
Correct.
and you're out there conversing on the playground, right?
Correct.
All right. And you're facing the other students who were there present on the playground.
Correct, I think, or my head is turned towards her. I'm not sure.
You're speaking to each other, and you're discussing the possibility that JT might have a weapon.
I was telling her that she could call the mom at any time and to see if he would come over to me, asking her where he was.
Right. And then after you finish speaking with her, you leave the playground, right?
Correct, because I had to go test.
You had to go test,
State test, yes.
right? They were state mandated tests
Correct.
that require strict compliance.
Correct.
And you prioritize that over confirming whether or not there was a firearm on this child.
I had already told the assistant principal several times, thinking she would do action because I was getting ready to go test and did not have my phone.
I'm going to show you clip 64G from the defense. That should appear on your display shortly. Can you see it?
No. Now I can.
Brian, can you play the clip? Permission to publish to the jury, Judge.
Any objection?
Oh, sorry. No objection, Your Honor. Thank
You
you.
may. Published and admitted.
Brian, can you play the clip, please? That's you and Ms. Warner walking back towards the building. And if you could pause, Brian. You're walking just normally. There's no urgency, right? It's just a casual pace.
I mean, I was walking, I just had my knee replaced then.
You weren't hustling back into the building to report directly to the administration.
I had already reported several times.
And you were walking back to the building, right?
I was for
With your
testing.
back facing these children who are on the playground.
My back is not towards them right now in this video.
But when you're in the building, you're not out there with the children, right?
No, I was not.
Okay. I see a lot of questions. So let's tackle and unpack some of this. So Coffee Nut is asking what happened to the little boy. We will get into that toward the end after we've gone over the testimony. My understanding is he is under different custody and is being cared for. That's the best I can tell you. And Melissa asked, how old are the kids? So this would be K through 5th. However, on the playground, they were only observing the 2 first grade classrooms. And yes, Kelly, oh, that puts a new spin on the whole incident and why the VP didn't take action. State testing rules funding. Yeah, don't mess with the testing. And it was a makeup day. It wasn't the full-blown testing day. This was a makeup day. So just to provide some clarity. Yes, it is like a spelling bee. Yes. Yes. But I have to tell you, I wouldn't want to mess with Mrs. Kovac. No, she tells me to do something, I'm doing it. Y'all tell me, did she look like she was somebody you'd want to mess around with? Because I didn't think so. She reminds me of Judge Everett, that kind of a school teacher that is not going to handle any sort of ridiculousness under their, I don't want to say control, that's the wrong word, but their responsibility. Okay, so that was day 1. I kind of gave you the highlights of what happened. Day 2, we start with Corporal Thomas Blythe. He is a Newport News police officer, and he would have been one of the individuals to show up on scene initially. Let me get Corporal queued up. We're going to take a peek at what he has to say.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Go ahead, Reed. And Corporal, can you walk us through what happened as you walked through this door, room 11?
As we step through the door,
Can I give you a little bit of, not legal advice, but a little bit of legal advice? Refrain from saying what you heard people say, but really just your observations, if that's okay.
This is going to give you an idea of what the classroom looked like, and I think it's going to put some things in perspective for you. That's why I chose this as one of the highlights.
stepped through the door, and there was a young child attempting to be restrained by a woman. Later found out was Amy Kovac, the reading teacher. We were quite taken aback. We didn't expect to see so young a suspect. She said that she had control of him, that the gun was in the back of the classroom and pointed that way. I immediately headed in that direction. When I found the weapon on the floor, I called out that there was a gun, and I stood by.
Can I pause you there just to bring the jury along? If I can show you Exhibit 3C, which is Zwerner 6726. And just to the witness and counsel. Yes. And is this a photo of the classroom, room 11, on January 6th?
Yes.
And can you see a firearm within the photo?
It's laying on the floor next to that chair.
Right. Your Honor, I'd move Exhibit 3C into evidence.
C is what we're doing?
C.
All right. Any objection? Without objection.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss this part here. So they're going to talk, but I have it fast, so I'm going to go in quickly. This is JT's backpack, this black and white checkered bag. over here, I'm hoping you can see my cursor. Over here is where the gun is lying on the floor.
And we can sort of see that in the bottom left there. Is that right?
Yes.
Corporal? And there's, if you can see in the photograph, there's a checkered backpack there on the right-hand side. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you all later, at some point in time, come to know that to be the backpack of JT?
I did not. I was not involved with backpacking anyway.
Understood. And so there are, if we can jump to Exhibit 3E, just for the witness. And when you're, as that gets up, as a responding to a crime scene, usually there are other individuals that will come after you as the first responder to take these photographs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, these photographs, as they appeared in the firearm, as it appeared, sort of guarding the location of it so that it would remain in that location until those individuals arrived.
Yes.
Excuse me. 6728. If you can set the bottom of the screen to zoom out. All right. You recognize that as a closer shot of the firearm?
It is.
And I'm also going to show you what's been marked as 6730, which is another photograph of the firearm.
It just looks,
And that's a closer shot of the firearm. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So you're going to move both what we'll call 3E and 3F, which was
it's just so weird to me to see this particular item in a children's classroom. It is a weird sensation. And you're right, Kelly. It's not. It's a 9mm Taurus. This is not some dinky, teeny, tiny gun. I'd love to know the size of the 6-year-old because, I mean, I'm a gun owner and this looks like possibly, I have a 380. This looks big. I agree. Here we go. Sorry.
were those last two photographs shown into evidence.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, without objection, permission to publish.
Permission to publish 3F, the most recent photograph.
Let me go back and show them E.
I will. And that's sort of a ruler on the right-hand side or something to give us an idea of the size of the firearm. Is that
I believe
commonplace?
that's correct, yeah.
And then if we go back to 6728, which was the 3E, that gives us a broader vantage point of where it was within the classroom as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Those are all the questions I have for you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any cross?
So, let me check my notes here and see what we'll be doing next. Melissa, you're asking, where did the gun come from? The gun came from home. And we'll get into the home situation once I finish the summary of all the testimony and everything that took place today. So we will definitely touch base on that. Like I said, you may not have been here early on. I want to close the loop on everything. So in addition to just the case, we're going to talk about some of the other fallout and what may be coming down the pike in the future. And you're right. Yes. Coffee Nut says, I'm a gun owner, and that is big for a little boy. And how in the world do you get his hands on that? We have safes that are locked, but all my kids are adults and learned how to hunt with dad. Yeah. Well, you're gonna find out. We're just gonna keep heading on down with all the testimony. The next person that we're going to watch is Dr. Ann Shufflebarger, and she is an expert on education, and she kind of talks about what is acceptable as far as in this type of situation, what should what is the protocol? I guess that's the best way.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right. So, Dr. Schuffelbarger, in review of the materials that you've been provided, are there different hats that people wear in the world of administrating school and education system?
Yes, definitely.
And the hat of the assistant principal, the administrator, responsible for a crisis management plan. You following?
Correct.
Was that the hat that, in your review of the materials, that Dr. Parker was wearing?
Yes.
And in your review of the materials, when that person wearing that hat has received the second notice of information as it relates to a firearm on campus, what's your opinion as to how, if at all, she responded or what her actions amounted to at that time?
From the things that I read, no action was taken. There was discussion about him putting it in his pockets and the size of the pockets, but no action was taken.
And from your perspective and in your expert opinion as a former administrator wearing that hat, what's your view and observation of what that amounts to? Is that
That's failure to act in the course of safety for the school. That's endangers folks. When you hear something like that, I know I said it before, you're expected to take it credibly. Here's a second report that people think the student has a gun. Action needed to be taken to prevent possible safety issues.
and in your opinion, is that action should have been taken by Dr. Parker?
Yes.
And was that the last time, in your review of the materials, that Dr. Parker was informed of a threat of a firearm on campus?
No, it was not. There was a third time involving a phone call between Mrs. West, who was a first grade teacher, and Mr. Sims, who was answering phones in the office. I know depending on different things that I read,
And we don't have to get into,
Okay.
because the jury's already heard them
Okay.
testify. We don't,
but there was a phone conversation and Mrs. West asked, had the student been searched? Or had the book bag been searched? I'm sorry, had the book bag been searched?
and so in your review of the materials, there was sort of a third moment in time in which Dr. Parker was faced with a decision or a choice.
Yes.
And in your opinion, as an administrator and as an educator in this field, how do you characterize her response? Did that meet the standard? Did that
No,
breach the standard?
it breached the standard of care and of job responsibility.
And was that the last time, based upon your review of the materials?
No, there was a fourth time when two different teachers were at her office talking about a first grade student reporting that he had seen something and more concerns. And those staff members took it upon themselves to ask if they could check his person, check the student's person. And they were told, no, mom's coming in a little bit. No, we don't need to check at that time. And in my mind, that's quite a bit of inappropriateness of a failure to act, because here comes more concern, more discussion, another report, and no action taken, and stopping others from taking action.
And so if we were to separate
Can y'all believe that? 4 times. 4 times Dr. Parker was told or asked or communicated to in reference to JT having a gun in his backpack, on his person. It defies logic for me. So there was additional testimony on day 2. Most of that testimony were medical experts. So it was Dr. Munn, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Stewart. They all testified about her medical condition. And just to let you know, she tried to deflect the gunshot with her hand, and the way that she did, it ended up damaging like this part of her hand, her left hand. Then the bullet entered into her torso area and did a lot of damage, but rested 2 centimeters from her aorta. And because of that, it's so close to the aorta, they cannot do surgery to have it removed. So she'll have that bullet or bullet fragment in her for the remainder of her life. She cannot ever have an MRI done because of the metal in there. She will have all kinds of other issues as she continues in life because she has a bullet in her chest. So that's basically what that particular testimony was for the remainder of day 2. I'm going to head on now to
Distance?
day
2016.
3. There was initially a Dr. Clarence Watson that testified. He testified to the emotional and psychological mental state of Abigail Zwerner, how she's suffering with a lot of PTSD, working through that, kind of checking how she is now compared to what she was prior to the incident. She's had to change occupations, sort of. And so that's basically what his testimony was about. The next, family members testified. I'm not going to do a replay of all of that. I'm trying to give you all the highlights to give you the flavor, because otherwise we'll be here for 4 hours. And I got to eat after this. So y'all know misdemeanor gets hangry. We can't be having that. So the next testimony is Abigail herself. I want you to get an idea of what her demeanor is and how she is on the witness stand. So we're going to watch that now.
In 2 years, I taught first grade, all at Rich Neck.
And how did you enjoy teaching?
I liked it. I do remember it was stressful a lot of times. Being a new teacher, a lot of new experiences, a lot of ups and downs, I remember. Yeah.
And now, Abby, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about January 6, 2023, okay?
Okay.
So tell the jury, when on that day did you first hear about JT might have a gun?
It was before recess.
And do you remember who told you that?
Amy Kovac.
And when Amy Kovac told you that, why did you not go to Dr. Parker?
I knew that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
Did Amy tell you she was going to tell Dr. Parker?
Yes, she told me that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
And did Amy tell you that 2 girls had advised her of the fact that JT might have a firearm?
Yes,
Do you know who the 2 girls were?
I did not.
So she didn't even tell you which kids in the class had told her that?
She did not tell me.
And no other kids told you?
No.
So you heard it from Amy, and Amy said she was going to tell Dr. Parker at that time.
Yes.
Were you told to keep an eye on JT by Amy?
Yes.
And is that why you were texting and communicating with Amy during recess?
Yes.
And is that why you texted Amy about what you observed JT doing before recess?
Yes, because I knew that once Amy had informed me of the information that the students had told her, I knew that Amy was going to then relay the information to Dr. Parker.
And again, no one else had told you anything about a gun besides Amy.
Correct.
And, Your Honor, I would like to publish and pull back up what's already been submitted as Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, if that's okay with Your Honor.
Which is that?
That is the picture yesterday of Abby wearing the shirt. Oh, 90C. Is it 90C? I'm being corrected that it's Plaintiff's Exhibit 90C, Judge.
Okay. Any objection to that?
No objection.
Right, it's already been.
Do you recognize that photo? It's on the screen in front of you.
Yes.
And what year is that from? Do you know?
I have slightly orange hair. Looks like it's washed out, so it would have been the 2022-2023 school year.
Okay, so you're in your first grade classroom, room 11.
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what is that?
That would be our handbook, our school's handbook. I believe it was titled the Crisis Management Plan. I may be wrong on the title of it, but it was the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
So that's the school, that's a handbook that you would reference?
Yes.
And why would you reference that sheet?
For the behaviors, it was like a left and right side.
And why would you look at that, the left and right side?
The like possible displayed behaviors on the left, and then on the right side, actions to take as a teacher.
And Reed, if we can only display to council, please, Exhibit 108, and it would be date stamp 9074 and 9075. Thank you. And Abby, do you see 2 documents in front of you?
Yes.
Do you recognize those 2 documents?
Yes.
And what are those 2 documents in front of you?
The on the left and the right side, it looks like the 3. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the combined on the one sheet of paper that I had on the orange sheet of paper, like the level 1 behaviors, and then on the right side of the screen, level 2, and then level 3 behaviors. I had that all on one sheet of paper, the orange paper on the wall.
So the exhibit that we just showed to the jury, the box that you had of the 3 tiers, is from this document?
Yes.
Your Honor,
I'm going to scoot us ahead here just a bit.
And if we can zoom in, that orange piece of paper behind your head is what has the chart on it with the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 behavior.
Yes.
And then if we can zoom in on the level 3 behaviors on the second part of the screen, please read. And do you see what's on the screen at this time?
Yes. At the top it says level 3 behaviors immediately reported to the school security and or an administrator.
And in the student behaviors, is there a possession of a weapon listed?
Possession of a weapon.
And then next steps, that's for the administrator to do, correct? That was your understanding?
Next steps.
And if we, on this date, Amy Kovac went and reported it to Dr. Parker, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And we can take that down from the screen now. Thank you, Reed. So Abby, now tell the jury, what did you see right before you were shot that day on January 6, 2023?
The moment went by very fast. I remember Dr. Watson touched on it briefly earlier. The look on the student's face is a large memory that I have. I do remember it was like a very blank look, but it wasn't a blank look at all on his face.
And is that why you lifted your hand? Did you know what was about to happen?
Yes. Yep.
And what is the last thing you remember that day at the school?
The last thing I remember at the school. Obvious, I thought I was dying. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or in heaven, but then it all got black, and so I then thought I wasn't going there. And then my next memory is I see two coworkers around me, and I process that I'm hurt, and they're putting pressure on where I'm hurt.
And Abby, can you describe for the jury a little bit about how you're still feeling physically and emotionally? I know that's a big question.
Physically,
Can you describe how it is with your left hand still? The things you can and can't do, even to this day?
I want you all to remember I have it at 1.5 speed. This is a long, long pause.
So Abby, can you tell the jury when we have lunch together, are you able to open your potato chips, or do I open your potato chips for you?
I asked you, we were catered sandwiches in a box, and a small bag of chips and cookies were catered, and I was trying to open the bag of chips on my own multiple times, different ways, trying to hold it different ways, and I eventually asked you to open it. It's the same thing with water bottles. Overall, I would say I do struggle with doing things.
I think there was a little PTSD that happened right there on the stand. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but the look in her eyes, she was not with us in that moment. She was someplace not in a good place. Yeah, I do think it's too overwhelming, anything about it. And yes, Coffee Nut, I want to give her a hug too. So moving on, I think that gives you a little bit of an idea, kind of what her demeanor is post-incident. And hello, Christine, Life by the Sea. Nice to have you here this evening. That is all I really had as far as highlights for day 3. So day 4, we're going to go to that next. I just have to find it. So bear with me,
Distance?
y'all. Day
So it's
4.
like 45-minute recess. All right, do not discuss your testimony with anyone, okay?
Stop,
All right, thank you.
stop. No. Alrighty. I don't know why this next witness infuriated me. I'm going to get her queued up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. And then you all can comment in the chat how you feel about her. I have very strong feelings about her. This isn't a long segment, but the next one I go to is pretty long. Yeah, I think you need to see what she's all about. So this is day 4, and this would be Dr. Amy Klinger. She's the Director of Programs for Educators School Safety Network. And she specializes in the protocol and for educational environments. And she's going to testify about that as an expert. So I'm going to give you just the beginning here. Sorry. And then we'll go into some more.
Call a lockdown. All of those things are capabilities and resources that were present to any of these individuals.
And in the material review, did you see that at some point there was a discussion between Dr. Parker and Mr. Rawls about body searching the student? And do you have, what is your understanding about decisions made in that regard?
Generally, or in this specific?
In this specific case.
There was
saying what someone said.
There was a discussion about an option for a search of the student, and the approach was cautious, as it would be appropriate to do so. And there was a determination made that when the parent was present, that search could continue.
Okay. And why would it be, in your experience, that a search of a student is something that could be cautious if you're looking for a weapon?
Well, we should always be concerned about the search of a student, regardless of their age. But certainly, and that is not something that any school administrator should enter into lightly. But I think it's really important to think about, this is a 6-year-old, this is a little kid, and we are going to do, just at will start doing body searches on kids. That's not any kind of endeavor that anyone should do, especially when they don't have a good amount of intelligence or information that would support that at that point.
Dr. Klinger, do you have any opinion on whether Dr. Parker could have foreseen JT's actions that day based on the information that she had?
I think it would be difficult for anyone to have foreseen that. I think the actions of everyone involved indicate that they were doing an analysis, but yet that they did not perceive this to be a plausible, imminent threat, both the behaviors as well as the actions, because it is a 6-year-old having access to a weapon and bringing it to school, and it is largely unthinkable and certainly unprecedented in terms of the outcome.
And Dr. Klinger, did you review any protocols of the Newport News school system in your review of the materials?
The crisis plan for Newport News, yes.
And did your review of any protocol change your opinions in the case in any way about assessing the threat or the school safety concern?
No, the protocols of a crisis plan provide a framework. They provide guidelines for what people should be doing. But they also have to, and in this particular case, they give people latitude for professional judgment. When a crisis plan becomes so prescriptive that you must do this, you must do this, you must do this, it really makes it actually more ineffective. So it is critical that people have the ability to use the tools that we've talked about and that use the judgment that we've talked about and incorporate or factor in the circumstances that we've talked about when they're making that decision.
And Dr. Klinger, are all of your opinions and conclusions you've provided to the jury today held within a reasonable degree of educational and professional probability?
Yes.
Please answer any questions Mr. Beniozen has.
Okay, so that was direct examination. Just to give you an idea, already for me on direct, I was like, what? What is wrong with this woman? Oh, y'all, it gets better. It so gets better. I really favor this particular plaintiff's attorney. And I don't think I can say his name correctly. I wish I could, but I like him a lot. This is gonna be a pretty big, well, no, this is just a few minutes. And then the next chunk, it's gonna be a good like 15 minutes or so of her testifying. I just want you all to be aware. I think it's important that you get the entirety of how she testified. And then we'll talk about the closing arguments that took place today.
Are closest to the information, is that correct?
Yes.
And on this day, it sounds like you're critiquing the information that was passed along to Dr. Parker. Am I interpreting your testimony correctly, that you're critiquing what people shared with Dr. Parker?
Well, I think the nature of what is shared is relevant and important to it. I mean, we have to understand this is a tragic, horrific event for every single person involved. So critique may not be the word, but I think clearly we have to evaluate the nature of the information that was given to her.
Right, and getting good information is a two-way street, fair? Mm-hmm. Is that yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know, I should know better, sorry.
In other words, you don't think an assistant principal should just sit in their armchair, wait for people to tell them information, and then just decide what to do based on what they tell them, right?
I don't know that that's what happened in this case, because there were other instances going on. There were when Ms. West brought her student, and then sometime in the afternoon, cried out for help, and Dr. Parker came because two students were fighting in the hallway. So I wouldn't say that she never got out of her chair, because clearly she provided assistance when it was asked for.
Okay, so let's take it step by step.
Okay.
You agree that an assistant principal can't just sit in their chair and wait for information to come to them, true?
I think that an assistant principal can have a reasonable expectation that if there's something she needs to know, people will tell her.
Okay, and so she should just assume everything's okay unless somebody comes and tells her more.
Well, your option then is that you have to go door to door and ask everybody, hey, is everything okay here? Is there anything I should know? Is there anything? And that's not really feasible for the management of the school.
Really happy you said that, actually. Really happy you said that. So let's talk about going door to door. In this context, Ms. Kovac told Dr. Parker explicitly about a gun and a specific student, true?
At what point?
Around noon.
Prior to going to lunch?
Correct, around noon.
There was a discussion of a weapon.
It wasn't a gun in his book bag.
That's not what you asked me. You asked me what she told.
Right, that's at noon, around noon. Did Ms. Kovac go into Dr. Ebony Parker's office and report that students were saying that JT had a gun in his book bag?
My understanding in the review of the materials is that she said that the students reported he had a weapon.
And your review of the materials, I hope, included the written statement of Dr. Parker? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to...
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead just a bit, but this next section, this woman, she just had me spitting nails yesterday. Y'all just don't even understand how mad I was with her testimony. I'm going to try to keep it together while this next fairly large chunk plays out. He does a fantastic, it's at least my opinion. And y'all, I'm just some little old kind of juror person. I thought he did fantastically. So, yes, Kelly's right. So it could have been a machete and the vice principal still sat there. Ma'am, yeah, it gets better. So let's go ahead and listen to Dr. Klinger.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Without objection.
Thank you. So, in the materials that you were provided, Dr. Klinger, this is the sentence I was reading to you. That around noon, Ms. Kovac came into my office and reported that the students were saying the student, JT, had a gun in his book bag. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes.
And so, when you said earlier, you can't go around every classroom, knocking on every door, searching every bag. You recall that testimony?
Well, I was speaking in terms, your question was about finding out if everything was okay. It wasn't about searching bags.
Okay, well, in this case, there was a specific child reported to have had a gun in his book bag, true?
Yes.
And because communication is a two-way street, and getting good information is a two-way street, you would expect the assistant principal to attempt to get some information herself, true?
Well, according to that statement and the materials that I read, there was a discussion between Ms. Kovac, who was a seasoned educator with a relationship with the student, third in line in the chain of command. There was a discussion between her and Dr. Parker, and Ms. Kovac indicated she was going to go and look in the book bag.
And based upon the information that you received, that she checked the book bag, there was nothing in the book bag, but that there was a report that there was something put in his pocket, true?
That was a report made later, yes.
And you're familiar that in response, Dr. Parker observed that the child's pockets were too little, true?
That's in the materials, that's
The
alleged.
pockets
And so
were
when
too
we're talking
little.
about getting good information, to make sure that we're on the same page regarding good information, when we talk about Miss West and Miss West bringing a child to Dr. Parker, do you recall your previous testimony about that?
She brought him to the office, yes.
In fact, according to Dr. Parker left her office and went and retrieved the child, true?
Which child are we speaking of?
The one that was eloping.
Yes,
So Dr. Parker at some point in time did decide, I'm going to leave my chair and I'm going to go deal with a student.
yes. I believe she also left her chair when the students had the altercation in the hallway, and also to talk with Ms. West about the student she brought in from the playground.
And during those times in which Dr. Parker left her chair, did she go and inquire with, you mentioned about how when law enforcement gets phone calls on dispatch, they always want to get information straight from the source. Do you recall that? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes.
And when we talk about getting information straight from the source, in this context, there were two girls who reported to Ms. Kovac who reported to Dr. Parker, true?
Yes.
And at what point in the day did Dr. Parker leave her desk to go talk to girl number one?
Well, in her testimony, Ms. Kovac indicates she didn't know who they were.
Not my question. At what point in the day did Dr. Parker leave her desk to go talk to girl number one?
How could she if she doesn't know who girl number one is?
Not
Because Ms. Kovac
answering.
doesn't know who girl number one is because she didn't ask her name and didn't get the information, which makes it difficult to investigate
So
if you don't know who the student is.
So Dr. Parker's obligation there stops because she doesn't get good information, so she can sit back and just rely upon the fact that she didn't get good information.
That's not what I said. I said it would be difficult to interview a student that you don't know who that student is.
You mentioned earlier that there are, 40 first grade students and 20 in Ms. Werner's class?
I never said how many students there were.
She didn't testify.
Earlier you, had
Hey,
talked,
hey, hold on, sustain that objection, rephrase.
earlier you had talked about how at some point in time one of the teachers was looking after two classroom sets of students, true?
Correct. I said Ms. Werner had double the students. I didn't say a number.
Okay. And so just so we're on the same page, Dr. Parker never went and attempted to talk to a girl or two girls, true?
The ones that disclosed to Ms. Kovac you're speaking of?
Yes.
She did not because she didn't know their identity.
You said because she didn't know her identity. You've never spoken to Dr. Parker, have you?
Oops.
No, I have not.
Okay, so when you're trying to say what Dr. Parker knew or didn't know, it's conjecture. You don't. She's
She
never
doesn't
told you
know.
She didn't know the
Well, the
identity.
materials say that Ms. Kovac did not.
But
So I don't know how Dr. Parker would be able to know who Ms. Kovac spoke with if she didn't see her speaking with the two students, and Mrs. Kovac didn't know the name of the two students. I don't know how Dr. Parker would know that, but you're right, I don't know that.
Finally an
do not
answer.
know whether Dr. Parker knew or did not know.
I do know that Ms. Kovac did not know the names of those students, and she didn't inquire or bring them to Dr. Parker so that Dr. Parker could speak to them.
Dr. Klinger, I know this is your first time in the courtroom. Just asking that you answer my questions. I'll be happy to let you expand, but I just want to make sure that we're not talking past each other.
Most certainly.
So, you do not know because Dr. Parker never communicated to you whether she knew or didn't know who those two girls were.
That is correct.
And when we go further and talk about getting good information, at some point in time when it's reported to Dr. Parker that there's a belief that there's something in his pocket, we talked about that a moment ago, correct?
Correct.
At that point in time, you'd agree that there's still at least a possibility that there's a firearm on campus, true?
Yes.
And at that point in time, to address the possibility of a firearm, did Dr. Parker request any specific information from anybody to be conveyed to her?
Specific information from anyone?
Correct. Did she say, will you go and search the person? Or will you go and talk to JT? Or why don't I go and talk to JT? Did she request any specific information in order to make the decision of what to do about a possible firearm on campus?
In the review of the materials, it would appear that that was a discussion that was had with Ms. Kovac and also with Mr. Rawls.
But that was, so let's get our timeline right. Ms. Kovac looks at the book bag, no gun in the book bag. They go and talk. That's when the comment is about little pockets, right?
Yes.
And that's about 12:20 in the afternoon, true?
I don't have a timestamp on that, so I can't speak to that.
And then Mr. Rawls comes and talks to her at 1:40 in the afternoon. Isn't that correct?
Again, that's my understanding, but some of the times seem to be a little contradictory in my review of the materials. Some of the times, depending on the statements, were a little bit off, so I don't want to say 1:40 with certainty.
Let's say it was 1:40.
It was after recess.
Let's say it was 1:40. That would mean that for about an hour, Dr. Parker was aware that there was the possibility of a firearm on campus at Rich Neck Elementary. True?
That there was the possibility that JT had what students were characterizing as a weapon and a gun.
Is that different than what I had asked you?
Yes, you said firearm. Typically, students would not disclose a firearm. They would say a gun, meaning a squirt gun, a gun, meaning a Nerf gun, a gun, meaning bullets. Again, in my experience, students, I'm sure there are some, but very young elementary students don't typically use technical terms like firearms and things like that.
But we just looked at the report from Miss Parker herself, Dr. Parker Exhibit 2, and it used the word gun.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not disputing that.
Y'all need to remember this exchange. It's going to become important down the road. And Coffee Nut, your comment, Your Honor, permission to treat witness as a hostile witness, please. She already is, because the only reason you would have a witness declared a hostile witness is if it was your own witness and they were dancing around questions. Think Kelly Dever, Never Dever, Kelly Dever. She could have easily been classified as a hostile witness because she was called by the defense, but then behaved like she had been called by opposing counsel. So she already is considered hostile in this situation. So we'll continue on.
And it didn't say toy gun, true?
The students
This-
said gun, yes.
And this report from Dr. Parker used the word gun, not toy gun, true?
That's what the report says, yes.
Okay. And so, let's talk about the threat at that point. You mentioned earlier about this isn't something that would be foreseeable. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to, just for demonstrative purposes, it's just a scale.
Object, Your Honor.
I can't see what that is. I don't know where he's going yet.
Start before. January 6th in the morning, before JT comes to school, what, in your expert opinion on the issue of foreseeability, what was the foreseeability of a gun on campus at Rich Neck Elementary School on a scale of 0 to 10?
Incorporating all students, K through 5,
Yes.
so every student there,
What was the foreseeability of a gun on campus? 0 to 10.
inclusive of the entire population of the school.
Yes.
Probably a 1.
So it's not like it's off the radar, true?
Correct. Now, if you want, well, I can't tell you what to ask me, but that's why I ask about the number of students. The younger they go, the younger they are, the lower that number would be.
Okay. But when we talk about a firearm on campus, we're talking about a risk, a threat, true?
Yes.
And that's because a firearm on campus at an elementary school isn't just a risk of an active shooter. You'd agree with that, right?
Yes.
There's a risk of an accidental shooting, correct?
Yes.
And so any firearm on campus is a threat, true?
Yes.
And so on a scale of 1 to 10 before January 6th, it's a 1, true?
Before January 6th?
Yep.
I thought you said that
On the
morning.
morning of.
I thought.
That's what I mean.
Okay. Yes.
And
Overrule the objection. You're using this for demonstrative purposes only.
Yes, Judge.
You may proceed.
go ahead.
So she's at a 1.
Tell me if I'm misstating, okay? Say foreseeability.
The threat is
gun.
a 1 on the morning of January 6, 2023, when the
In
incident
K5 environment,
happened.
correct? You're asking me? Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
And we agree that this equals a threat, at least some threat.
The foreseeability equals a threat?
A gun on campus.
The gun equals a threat, yes.
Okay. And so we're at a 1. True?
Based on what you described to me, yes.
So we'll call it 9 a.m. 1/6/23. So you're familiar with the Rich Neck handbook, correct?
Yes.
And you're familiar that the Rich Neck handbook actually contemplates a level 3 incident involving the possession of a firearm, true?
Yes.
How does that change your determination of foreseeability? Does that make it more foreseeable because they've thought about it in the manual that it could happen, or does it make it less foreseeable?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I'm not sure that I understand what you're asking me.
Sure.
How do you
In the
not
context of Rich Neck
understand
Elementary
that?
specifically, there is a handbook that calls a Tier 3 threat assessment, and that is if there's a possession of a weapon. Do you recall that?
Yes, I believe that's for the whole district, though, not just specifically for Rich Neck. Is that correct? Your understanding as well?
And Your Honor, if he's gonna question her, you can show it to her.
Happy to show it to her.
Show it, publish it to her. I'm not sure it's in evidence, but.
This woman lives in bizarro
Yeah,
world.
This is already in evidence. It's
Okay,
Exhibit
I'll give you the
108.
one that is.
So this is permission to publish?
If you can just read the exhibit number on there.
This is Exhibit 108. Section 3, we talk about level behaviors. Get into it. There's a specific discussion of a possession of a weapon. Do you see that?
Yeah, can you slide that down so that I can't see all of what the title, there you go, thank you. see it now.
Possession of a firearm, or weapon, excuse me.
Yes, those being behaviors that need to be immediately reported to an administrator.
Understood. And in this context, in light of Rich Neck Elementary's specific understanding that that is a student behavior, how does that increase or decrease your foreseeability analysis? Does it make it more or less likely, in your view, that there's a gun on campus if they've already talked about the possibility of a gun on campus?
No, I would say that most likely that's part of a larger comprehensive plan that was supposed to be appropriate for all levels, including secondary levels. And also, this is a K-5 building, it's not a pre-K, so you have older students in the building as well.
Understood. So then let's talk about 1 through 10. When Kovac tells Parker, gun. It was a 1 at 9 o'clock in the morning. What is it at the time that Kovac tells Parker there's a gun?
I want y'all to think
Well,
about
it's higher than a 1 because you have that word that's being used, but there also is the plausibility factor, the factor of what the student said. Unfortunately, there were no statements taken specifically from the students.
Dr. Parker didn't take any statements.
Right, so we don't know who the students are. We
Right.
don't.
So I'm just going to pause really quick. If you remember earlier, they were talking about the handbook, and one of the things that was supposed to happen is the school administrator was supposed to take statements after the incident. So she didn't do that either. And I want you to think as we go through these particular scenarios that he's laying out, what would you consider the threat level to be?
No. So we only have what Ms. Kovac relates. So she relates, or Dr. Parker relates, that they use the word gun.
So 1 out of 10, higher than a 1. What is it?
Yes. At this point, I would say, given the fact that Ms. Werner had just been there and indicated that JT was being defiant, but did not indicate that he was acting strange around his book bag or that he was showing things to kids or that kids were frightened or any of those things, it's probably a 2 or a 3 at this point.
Okay.
2 or 3.
Then we have a moment in time, as we talked about, where Kovac says, no gun in backpack, put something in pocket. Is that right? Is that true?
We have a moment where Ms. Kovac has looked in the backpack and there is no gun, and Ms. Werner has texted Ms. Kovac and told her that he put something in his pocket. Dr. Parker did not know that until Ms. Kovac told her.
Right. So that's the moment I'm talking about. The moment where Kovac says, no gun in the backpack, but there's a report that he put something in his pocket. This little pockets moment. You understand where I am in the timeline?
Yes, I do.
Scale of 1 to 10. What's the foreseeability?
I think we're still basically in the 2 to 3. And actually thinking of the size of an actual firearm.
You're still at a 2 to 3.
Yeah.
2 to 3 still.
All right.
And may I qualify what you're
please
saying?
do.
You're saying based purely on this information, not all the other information that was observed by other people that was not disclosed to Dr. Parker. Is that correct?
Well, ultimately, we're asking, and the question in this case, as you understand it, is Dr. Parker's actions, correct?
Right, but
Yes.
you're asking me to give you this numerical judgment based on purely the information you're writing on the paper, correct?
Well, yes. If there's something more that you think should be considered, you're happy to tell. I welcome it.
Mm-hmm.
When you said earlier, it's unprecedented, it's not foreseeable, I'm trying to get an understanding of how these different pieces of information may affect that.
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're at a 2 to 3 still after the conversation about something in the pocket. Then the next discussion, as I recall it, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the next discussion is when there is a question from Mr. Sims to Dr. Parker about, did we search the person? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so we talked about context clues, essentially. You know, we have to read into the conduct of staff members to get an indication of how credible a threat is. Do you recall that testimony in your direct?
No, that's not what I said. I said context, not context clues.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just saying it's not the same thing.
Okay, so we'll talk about context. At this point in time, when Mr. Sims comes to Dr. Parker, there's still a possibility of a gun on campus, true?
The possibility, yes.
A 2 to 3 possibility.
Yes.
And Mr. Sims is now saying, have you searched the person, true?
To Dr. Parker?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so at that point in time, when Mr. Sims is asking, did you search JT, how does that affect the foreseeability? I mean, it's a teacher saying, hey, we need to check the kid.
Well, I believe Mr. Sims was relating information. I think he was covering the office at the time. So I believe he was more of an intermediary than a person urgently raising a concern. But
Why does that matter?
may be up for interpretation. But he does, you're asking me, did he speak to Dr. Parker about that? Did he ask that? Or what? Maybe you can ask me again with that caveat.
Sure. When Mr.
She's so
Sims
busy
goes to
spinning.
Dr. Parker and says, did you search the person, in light of the fact that there is still a possibility of a gun on campus, what is the foreseeability at that point in time in your expert opinion? 2 to 3, more than 2 to 3, less than 2 to 3?
Well, it's easy now to go, boy, we should, but in that context, with the fact it's a 6-year-old, with the fact that Dr. Parker is not privy to all of the subtleties and the context that you alluded to, and given the fact that now we are looking for something One student, student R, indicates bullets. And so we now haven't really elevated that a great deal.
So 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to stop for just a moment. Ava brought up a good point. I get why they may have thought a 6-year-old isn't going to do anything, but why not follow procedure and put him in a secured area? I completely agree. And what I forgot to tell all of you earlier is that JT, this was his first day back. Sorry, hit the wrong button. This was his first day back from a school suspension because he had taken Abigail Zwerner's cell phone and thrown it down. And he had gotten a suspension for that. So, knowing that, and that this individual has the possible propensity to do something, I don't know, might change the number a little for me, even though he's 6 years old. It might be different based on that. I believe it was a 2-day suspension, but I'm not positive.
To do a parallel exercise where we were talking about a high school student or a middle school student, clearly we would be talking different things, but I'm answering your questions specifically for an elementary, kindergarten, 6-year-old.
I know you're saying that, and that's this idea that a high school student may more intentionally fire a gun. Is that fair?
I'm saying a high school student most likely would have greater access to a gun, would have capabilities to use it, would have the capability or the forethought to bring it for threatening purposes, which might speak to your concern about safety. I mean, if we want to just go statistically, how many 6-year-olds have you seen walking around with a gun versus how many 17-year-olds have you heard having a firearm?
If you want to talk statistically, we can talk about the CDC's investigation into accidental shootings in elementary school students in 2023. Did you review that finding of the CDC?
For this case? No.
Okay, you are aware because you work with the Department of Homeland Security that the CDC did perform an investigation into the prevalence of accidental shootings in minors, specifically children of the age of JT, correct? You're aware of that as an expert, aren't you?
Aware of that study or aware of it in this context? I did not review it for this case, and this was not, you were asking me questions not about an accidental shooting, you were asking me about foreseeability.
Foreseeability of a threat on campus.
Yes.
If there's a gun, true?
Yes.
And whenever there's a gun, especially at an elementary school, an accidental shooting is a threat, true?
Yes.
And so, at the time that Mr. Sims goes and talks to Dr. Parker and is continuing to ask about a search of the person, it's still, in your view, it's a 2 to 3 foreseeability of a threat at that time.
For a 6-year-old.
Just asking you about a gun on campus. 2 to 3, more, less?
Well, I think you're asking me to make a unilateral statement, and I'm trying to provide the context that you referred to. And the context being the foreseeability of a 6-year-old having a firearm.
So it's okay to just disbelieve it because...
That's not what I said. You're asking me about foreseeability. You didn't ask me about response. You didn't ask me about attitude. You asked me about foreseeability.
We'll get there.
So foreseeability of a 6-year-old is in the low end of your scale.
Unbelievable, huh? Are y'all getting as mad as I was?
Okay. So we're at a 2 to 3.
Yes.
2 to 3.
After Mr. Sims leaves Dr. Parker's office, there is then another conversation with Mr. Rawls, correct?
Yes.
And this is the conversation, I think, that you... and Mr. Rawls, during that, requests... Oh, that's really bad. Requests to search, true?
Who are you referring that Mr. Rawls is talking to? You're done with Mr. Sims, right? You're talking with Dr. Parker, correct? I just want to be clear so I can answer it correctly.
So Mr. Rawls requests to Dr. Parker to search the student, true?
There is a discussion about searching.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's now the second discussion about searching the student. Mr. Sims, then Mr. Rawls, true?
The first one was a informational, has he been searched? This one was a discussion about searching.
And, okay. And so, at this point in time, foreseeability, 2 out of 3, more, less?
Well, I think you're equating the discussion of searching with somehow urgency or more likelihood. So I don't see that there is again, significantly higher likelihood. It is still quite implausible, even though we know it happened. It is still not a lot of specific information. It's still all the things that we talked about. So yeah, we're still in the lower end. I think Dr. Parker and and Mr. Rawls' discussion centered on the plausibility, but also on the caution through which an administrator should undertake a body search of a 6-year-old. And so there wasn't a refusal to search. There was the decision that it needed to be done with parent, not necessarily permission, but parent involvement.
So to
There's an SRO there. That's a law enforcement officer. What are you doing? I'd be mad as HE double hockey sticks if my kid was at this school or any school that she has anything to do with.
2 to 3, or is it more?
I don't think it goes up a lot more, no. And especially considering that Mr. Rawls has experience with
it go up at all?
adult students.
Objection, Your Honor, he's cutting her off.
I mean, I just asked more than 2 to 3.
All right, so we can answer his question.
Is it more than 2 to 3? You said not much more. How much more?
3, there.
3. All right. We moved a little. And you're talking about this communication process with the assistant principal, Dr. Parker, and the staff members, correct?
Yes.
And in your book titled "Keep Students Safe Every Day," that's the title, correct?
No, it's keeping students safe every day.
Sorry, I missed the ing. You'd agree that a crisis event occurs in a school, there needs to be effective communication, correct?
That is correct.
And that the assistant principal is the leader in that regard, correct?
I don't say that in the book. The assistant principal is the leader in that regard?
Do you?
I don't remember writing that.
All right. Is the assistant principal a school leader? To be clear, specific, and timely with communication.
An assistant principal is one of the school leaders, and in the crisis plan is one of 3 school leaders.
And in this context, at 1:40 in the afternoon, if you accept my representation, that that's when this conversation occurred.
Wouldn't
it
she
was
be
a
exhausting to be
that there's
married
still
to?
3 likelihood that there's a gun on campus. True?
Based on what you have asked me to assign to it, yes.
Okay. All right. And when we say a 3 likelihood, and you talked earlier about, I think you said you have to assess whether to search the person, the boy, or not, given his age and other surrounding circumstances. Do you recall that?
I don't know that I said assess, but I might have.
So I told you earlier the last thing we talked about was over under. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And when we say over, we're talking about what's an overreaction to a gun on campus. What's an underreaction to a gun on campus? True?
One of my favorite
Right.
parts.
When I spoke about it, I spoke about it in an overreaction, underreaction to a crisis event. But yes, we could specifically talk about to a gun on campus.
Well, that's what we're talking about in this case, aren't we?
I just want to be clear that when I spoke about it, I speak about it in general.
So what is an overreaction to a gun on campus at an elementary school? What's an overreaction?
Well, I think that you want an example of it, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying you have to weigh the balancing test. What possibly could be an overreaction to a gun on campus?
So you want me to take it to the biggest overreaction I can think of?
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be when a student indicates that another child has something.
Yeah, but we're
weapon.
talking about overreaction, underreaction in terms of responses, correct?
Are you asking me when it is already proven that there is a weapon on campus, or when there is a suspicion of a gun or a weapon on campus?
Which one applies here?
Man.
Which one applies to your questioning?
Which one applies to this case? A suspicion or proven? In your view,
There was a suspicion that the student had a weapon of some sort.
of a gun.
Oh.
Students used the word gun, yes.
She used the word gun.
In her statement, yes.
So there's a suspicion of a gun. So let's use that circumstance.
Yeah.
There's a suspicion of a gun on campus. The assistant principal recognizes there's a suspicion of a gun, and for 2 hours, the foreseeability that the gun remains on campus is not 0. It's
2
something more than 0. That's what we've just gone
hours.
through. True?
Yes.
What's an overreaction in that context?
In a elementary school where there is the suspicion that a 6-year-old has something,
We're not talking about something. We're talking about a gun.
that a 6-year-old has a weapon that students have
talking about a gun.
categorized as a gun.
We're talking about a gun, man.
Do you want me?
What is an overreaction to a gun?
Do y'all hear the music? This is the music I hear when she starts talking. It's like a circus with her.
An example of an overreaction is that when a student says, student X has a gun, that we call a lockdown, we have an active shooter response, we search the kid, we put him down, we put him in cuffs, we drag him off until we can figure out that he had a Nerf gun or a squirt gun or a firearm.
So you agree that Mrs. Werner wasn't expected to just drag the kid out of class, call a lockdown, and do all this stuff? That would be an overreaction.
An underreaction would be
Stay
to
with my
leave him
question.
in the student,
Stay
in
with my-
class.
Stay with my question. You agree with that statement that I made, correct?
No, I do not. An overreaction, it would be an overreaction to tackle the student, get the police, yes, all based on somebody said he has a weapon or what small children call a gun.
So let's talk about underreactions. Under reaction is an assistant principal not calling 911. True.
Well, can I finish answering your previous question?
You didn't answer my previous question. You went on to your own question.
Well, no, I was trying to answer the question of you asked me about an overreaction, and then you brought up Ms. Werner as an overreaction that you didn't drag him out.
Correct.
Did you? That's what I understood you to say.
And you agreed that you wouldn't expect her to do that.
But a student can be removed from a classroom without being dragged, kicking and screaming.
Right.
A student can be isolated. A book bag can be moved without it becoming an altercation or an aggressive or violent incident.
All things
that would be a more appropriate reaction. So I just wanted to clarify the overreaction that you asked about.
All things that Dr. Parker did not do. True.
All things that Ms. Werner did not do either, or Ms. Kovac didn't do either, or Mr. Rawls didn't do either, because in their judgment it was not an appropriate measure at that point.
Ain't about them.
Let's answer my question.
Okay.
All things that Dr. Parker did not do. True.
All things as in remove him from the room?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you've heard this statement, I presume, in life about sounding the alarm. You understand what that means?
Yes.
Okay. And so in this instance, there was a request, there was information that was conveyed all day that we talked about in terms of foreseeability to Dr. Parker. True?
There was limited information that was conveyed to Dr. Parker, but not all the information that was available. The materials suggest there was additional information she wasn't privy to.
Information was conveyed.
Some information, yes.
Sufficient for Dr. Parker to understand that there was a gun on campus. True? That there was
Sufficient?
Sufficient for her to suspect there was a gun at Ridge Neck Elementary School. We talked about suspicion.
Sufficient for her to understand that there was a concern about the potential of a gun on campus.
She's exhausting. He's loving it because that's what attorneys love is the battle, the debate, and I'm here for it. She looks like a fool. And she was paid $500 an hour during her testimony, $350 an hour for any of the research she did leading up to this conclusion. We're almost done. Yeah.
The information, start this way. Some information was conveyed by Ms. Kovac to Dr. Parker. True?
Yes.
And again from Ms. Kovac to Dr. Parker. Correct?
Yes.
And then from Mr. Sims, at least a question to Dr. Parker, correct?
Yes.
And then from Mr. Rawls to Dr. Parker, correct?
Correct.
So the individual who was in a position that was aggregating the information in this circumstance was Dr. Parker. You agree?
Aggregating as in receiving that information?
Yes.
Yes.
For the love of all things holy, yes, ma'am. Woo! So, I had to let you kind of marinate in all of that to understand. Yes, JT has had numerous behavioral problems. I did not know about the strangling. That is new to me. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of what happened today in court. So, of course, there were wranglings this morning on jury instructions and all of that jazz. That was all done. And then both the plaintiff's attorney and the defense attorney presented their closing argument. And then, of course, at the end, the plaintiff's attorney has the opportunity to do a rebuttal. In the rebuttal, the plaintiff's attorney, the fine young man that you all just watched, brought up the fact that Dr. Parker did not testify and did not take the fifth, didn't exercise her right to remain silent, and instead just didn't testify. There was a big hullabaloo. The defense attorneys then wanted to have the trial declared a mistrial because he brought that up. Now, the judge said, I don't know why you brought that up anyway. And the plaintiff's attorney said, they had it all over during voir dire. When they were voir diring these potential jurors, they kept asking and talking about pleading the fifth. I guess it was in the jury questionnaire. There was a lot about pleading the fifth. Fun fact, as I was preparing for tonight's live stream, I did some digging and found out that Dr. Parker absolutely could have testified on her own behalf. She could have just gotten on the witness stand and just said she was pleading the fifth and gotten her tail off. She chose not to do that. If she would have stayed on the witness stand in the state of Virginia, she could have answered all of the questions, and none of it could have been held against her for a criminal proceeding unless they were using it for perjury purposes. So there's a lot to that, and I know a lot of people were jumping on the bandwagon that, oh my gosh, this plaintiff's attorney messed up by mentioning pleading the fifth. I don't think so. I think they opened the door for it and he walked through. Now, the judge can disagree. It's his court. He can decide in whatever way he wants. That's just misdemeanors, little I'm a juror and don't know anything about the law perspective. So that's what happened today when at the tail end of closing and when the jury was going back to deliberate. My understanding, they've been out deliberating for approximately around 2 hours. So I think we'll get a verdict tomorrow, probably close to the end of the day. That's just my take on it. All right. Oh my goodness, what is happening on my screen over here? Bear with me. Okay. I want you all to get the full picture. We're going much longer tonight. I'm so sorry, but there was a lot to cover. I want you to know everything you need to know about this particular case. So, there's a trial date set for the ex-Rich Neck assistant principal accused of child neglect. That's what she's been charged with. We provide, hang on, let me get past the advertisement here. My bad. I had to do the get rid of stuff. Oh my goodness. This is all the cookies and such. My apologies. Hang on. Let's try it this way. Okay. I have to leave all the junk in there. My apologies. Ebony Parker faces 8 counts of child abuse, court records show. Offenses occurred on the same day teacher Abby Zwerner was shot by her 6-year-old student. Newport News, Virginia, that's where this took place. A new date was set for a criminal child neglect case surrounding the 2023 Red Neck Elementary School shooting. Former Rich Neck assistant principal Ebony Parker appeared in Newport News Circuit Court months after she was indicted with 8 counts of child abuse with disregard for life. In court on Monday, a jury trial date for Parker was set for February 19th and 20th, 2025. You know, I'm probably going to add that to the calendar. Parker's charges came from a special grand jury on March 11th. According to the court documents, Parker showed a reckless disregard for human life while being responsible for students on January 6, 2023. Shortly after the 2023 shooting, Parker resigned from the school. And then it goes on to talk about Zwerner surviving and that there was a boy that had a gun that day in school. According to the lawsuit, several teachers warned Parker on at least 3 separate occasions the student may have had a gun on him hours before the shooting. The lawsuit claims that Parker told teachers the boy has small pockets, implying he couldn't hide a gun in his clothing. Zwerner's attorneys also claim an hour before the shooting, a school counselor asked the assistant principal to check the 6-year-old for a gun, a request which they said Parker dismissed. And then it says the trial was supposed to start January 21st. Clearly, that's not the case because we're just doing it now. So I wanted to make sure you all had that information, that she is indeed being charged with 8 separate counts and kind of the general idea of what those counts were. And I'm going to now talk about the mama. I'm sure you all want to know about the mama, right? Oh boy. So, let me get her added here. She has a little history here. Owner of firearm used in shooting of Newport News teacher pleads guilty to unlawful firearm possession. A Newport News woman pleaded guilty today to illegally obtaining and possessing a firearm and making a false statement on Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives form to purchase the firearm. It is clear from this case that enforcement of our existing federal firearm laws is critical to ensuring public safety. Federal requirements for firearm ownership are not optional, exist to protect owners, their family members, and the communities where they live. Failing to abide by those requirements when purchasing or possessing a firearm can have far-reaching consequences. The safety of our communities is one of my utmost concerns, and our efforts will always reflect that. I want to be clear. Anyone that is an unlawful user of or addicted to controlled substances, such as marijuana, are prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition under federal law. ATF will continue to collaborate with our local, state, and federal partners to ensure that people who violate this condition of firearm ownership are held accountable for their actions. According to court documents, on January 6, 2023, a 6-year-old male child, John Doe, shot and severely injured a first-grade Rich Neck elementary school teacher with a Taurus Model PT-111 G2A 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Shortly thereafter, agents from the ATF conducted a trace on the firearm used in that incident, which revealed that the firearm was purchased by Deja Nicole Taylor, 25, on July 19, 2022. On January 19th, federal agents executed a court-ordered search of Taylor's home, during which agents discovered narcotics packaging, narcotics paraphernalia, marijuana edible packaging, a box of ammunition, and a black firearm barrel lock. Agents also searched the home of Taylor's mother, where Taylor was residing at the time, and found approximately 24.5 grams of marijuana edible packaging, and marijuana paraphernalia. A search of Taylor's phone revealed numerous text messages illustrating the pervasive scope of Taylor's marijuana use. A lockbox was not found in either of the residences, nor was a trigger lock or key to a trigger lock ever found. The investigation also uncovered a police report from the Williamsburg Police Department, which stated that on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, Taylor was pulled over during a traffic stop in a vehicle with 2 other persons, including John Doe, who was 4 years old at the time. The Williamsburg police officer conducting the stop detected an overwhelming odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle, and marijuana was in plain view inside the vehicle. Several marijuana edibles that looked like rice treats were found inside the vehicle directly next to John Doe. A backpack claimed by another person in the vehicle was found to contain numerous individually packaged marijuana rice treats, gummies containing THC, suspected crack cocaine, 2 large bags of marijuana, 2 packages of Backpack Boys marijuana from California, suspected oxycodone pills, green plant material, a smoking device, and more edibles, and a partridge in a pear tree. Whew, that's a lot. Digital scales were also found inside the vehicle. Taylor's purse was searched and marijuana edibles and 3 unknown white pills were found. During that traffic stop, Taylor was advised of her Miranda rights and she denied all knowledge of drugs inside the vehicle. On July 19th, 2022, Taylor purchased the Taurus handgun used in the shooting. She was required by law to complete the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Firearms Transaction Record Form 4473. She falsely stated on this form that she was not an unlawful user of marijuana or other controlled substances. Taylor pleaded guilty to being an unlawful user of controlled substance in possession of a firearm and making a false statement during purchase of a firearm and is scheduled to be sentenced on October 18th. She faces a maximum penalty of 25 years in prison. Actual sentences for federal crimes are typically less than the maximum penalties. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after taking into account the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. So she's behind bars right now. I do not know what her sentence was on October 18th. I did not stumble across that information, but I did want you all to know, kind of closing the loop, what was going on. My understanding is JT is in the care of other family members. They have diagnosed him with ADHD and medicated him, and supposedly that is making everything come up sunshine and roses. Don't know if I'm buying all that. But here we are. So, I want to thank you all for hanging with me for almost 2 hours tonight. I knew it was going to be long because there was a lot to cover. I appreciate everybody for doing that. Please make sure you like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, do all the YouTube things, send me a comment. And I have to tell you, I'm going to be a little out of pocket. Saturday's birthday day for Ms. Demeanor, and Mr. Demeanor is taking me out of town. I wonder where. He's not saying. And just a moment. I got to get a drink. I did a lot of talking. Okay. I think I'm going to have a really exciting guest coming up in the very near future. So make sure you're following me on TikTok, X, all the socials, because I'll be posting as soon as I know whether I have something like that solidified. Next week, do not forget, we're going to be doing a replay of the Raoul Valley trial. I'll be starting that Monday morning promptly at 8 o'clock Central Time. We'll go until probably around 5 o'clock Central Time. And so pop in and out, set your notifications accordingly, and we will all hang out on Monday. Unless something comes up in the meantime, I will plan on seeing you all Monday morning bright and early so that we can get ourselves educated on the Raoul Valley case. And you know, I always tell you, it doesn't cost a penny to be kind, so find someone to do something nice for today if you haven't already. And as always,